Good evening. Welcome to the April Southern Fried DNN User Group meeting. We are excited to have two guests with us today to put on a doubleheader of DNN goodness. We're going to learn some ideas and information from Andrew Hoefling, who's going to talk with us about, actually I was just about to go back into Razor and talk about our original things, DNN MVC Module Routing. And we're going to talk about the power to handle more different scenarios and, kind of in the outline here, talk about these. But the overview is that this is what's available in the new direction for DNN and .NET and MVC that you can do right now. That's the main point of what Andrew's going to run through with us. We don't have to wait for anything new. We don't have to wait for decisions on new directions things are going. This is stuff that you can be tackling right now. And questions are a big part of what we want to do here in Andrew's presentation. He's going to be showing you a demo, but everybody in the online set and on chat, start passing us some questions for him, and we'll have him on the hot seat live to help see what he can do about those. Our second presenter, Mike Smeltzer, will be spending time with us to present a new offering that he's put together called DNN Shine. DNN Shine is a new control panel that focuses on improving the editing experience. And in reading through the details of what he's written up, there are several intriguing ideas of, I would say, workflow and process about how you go through doing different things, contextually aware control panel showing different things based on what you're doing in action. And all I personally have been able to do is read about it. So I'm very excited tonight to take a look and see what it looks like. So we're very excited about that. However, kind of going into community and general information, I want to first pass over to Dave to talk about one of our exciting announcements about sponsorship that we are thrilled to announce and share with everybody today.
Oh yeah, that's actually pretty cool. We just recently, thanks to Mr. Clint Patterson, made us aware of the .NET Foundation Pro Meetup account, and they support all things .NET. So we filled out a simple form, submitted our group to them, and very quickly they approved us. We're in, so now this actually is a great deal because, not only does it help us with our meetup costs, it actually pays for our meetup costs, so we don't have to worry about that. So now if anybody chips in or whatever, that can go towards helping, us get, refreshments or whatever, for the meetup and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, exactly, beer money, that would be good. And then also what that does is it really gives us a lot greater exposure, because now if you go to that link there, Ryan, on meetup.com/pro.net right there. No, the one in the tweet.
I was trying. They have it on their homepage of the .NET Foundation too. They have, no, this is the right one either.
Yeah, if you just go to that link that's on the
here. So check out a meetup, meetup sponsorship. They want you to join a meetup, and they're promoting it on the homepage of their site. So you're saying this one?
Yeah, if you'll just go to that link right there, you'll see that we now are listed right within their meetup. Yeah, looks like meetup.com's going really fast there, so that's cool.
Yeah, there we go.
So there you are. We're showing up, the current meetups that are going on right now. We're showing up as groups. There are now over 82,000 meetups being shown in that group, so that definitely gives us some greater exposure. So thank you to the .NET Foundation for their support.
Yes, it's something we're excited about, and if we can reach a few more people, and a few more people can reach and participate with us, it enriches in both directions. So that is something we're very excited about.
And it's good for DNN in general because, as you may or may not know, DNN is part of the .NET Foundation right now. So that's great all around.
Clint, I will pass it to you to talk a little bit about community here in just a moment, but I'll mention that, of course, DNN Connect is still just ahead of us here. End of May, beginning of June is the event. I'm seeing Tweets go out of people who've finally booked airfare and they're finalizing their reservations. So a reminder that it's not too late for you to get out there. Another reminder that it was explained to me recently, getting out there is your biggest hurdle. That's your biggest expense. Once you are there, there's not a conference cost, there's not a location cost.
There is a conference cost.
There's a conference cost.
But it's an all-inclusive cost.
Sorry, that's it.
Yeah, it's your food and lodging and even drinks are included. So.
I'm sorry, is that a picture of actually where it's at?
That is where we're at in Limerick.
Dustin's like, I'm going with you right now.
So
I
Dustin,
would like very much to get in on that.
so it's actually very close to where Star Wars was formed. Is where we're at, in that region where Star Wars was formed. Filmed,
yep.
Sorry, not formed. Yeah. And then north in Ireland, you can see where all the Game of Thrones stuff
Oh,
filmed.
sure,
So,
yes.
yeah,
No, I mean, all the conference stuff's going to be going on. I'm going to be like wandering the grounds of the castle.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
It's not actually at the castle, but that is close by. That is very close by. Worth the visit.
So, as you can tell, we're excited about the looks and the activities that are going to be there. For those that are going, we're going to expect some news and some information coming back from you. So anybody that's going, reach out to us. We'd love to hear about it. So Clint, over to you for community news and general information. I'll bring up the blog page. You mentioned there were a few new posts here recently.
Yeah, so I've been posting a lot of like webinar and meeting recaps and videos. So you can see Mitchell Sellers had a webinar today about security. So we got a lot of good positive feedback on that. People seem to like the flow of how Mitchell went. Kelly Ford is taking leadership of updating the DNN documentation. There's a blog about that on there somewhere, 2 or 3 blogs, and you'll see that blog in Spanish. One thing that's neat is a guy in our community, Francisco, he has started translating people's blogs into Spanish. So it's almost like, you know, if you're cool on Twitter, then Reverend Geek might draw your avatar, and if you post it on DNN, then it might get translated. Like, you just don't know when it's going to happen.
That's fantastic. I think that's a first. I haven't really seen that before.
That's actually my blog article there. I didn't even know he was doing it. So that's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, because he doesn't give a heads up. He just posts it. So it's pretty cool. So if you keep going, Metler came out with a new Too Sexy, even sexier, faster, 10 times whatever that is.
Yep.
But he's always releasing stuff, so that's good. We had an MVP meeting with some good discussion in the closed portion of the meeting. We had an advanced theming webinar with David and TK. So they were showing their framework for NV Quick Theme. Right after, mind you, NV Quick Install did not install, but that was because he had turned his SQL Server off.
Good to bring that back up again. You appreciate that, I'm sure.
But anyway, it was pretty neat. You know, in the way they're doing it, they're using some different tools and there's processes. But if you kind of get into that flow, then you get performance benefits and things like that. Andrew has posted a blog on Cloudflare and DNN, which stemmed from him helping me out with an issue.
Yeah.
We had a site where we had put it on Cloudflare was running HTTPS, but we couldn't edit the site.
Right. Yep.
But there was like one little setting that we needed.
Yep.
You can check that out. Also, so the DNN tag continues to meet. There's a lot of conversation going on about GDPR, which is pretty important, especially in Europe. So a lot of talk about that. In that most recent meeting there, Andy Treba made an appearance, and he was, just again reiterating the empowerment of the community to drive the roadmap. Also, the partner program, we've been meeting with gold and silver partners, getting their profiles updated. We're getting close to when we can turn it on for people to see. If you have submitted, like if you filled out the form saying you want to be a partner, I'm going to get to you. You're in my queue. I'm just trying to get our current partners settled first, and then we're going to go to the others. And then Adderson is on this meetup right now, and he had the first TA, as in Toronto area, meetup a couple weeks ago, a restarter of that, and it was a great meeting. And in his next meeting, the world-famous Joseph Craig is going to be presenting on Too Sexy Content, so it should be a pretty good meeting. So a lot of stuff going on in the ecosystem. Again, DNN Connect is coming up, and let's see, we got Charlotte meetings, Toronto meetings, and just a lot of content happening. So that's my update from the community. I may have forgotten something, but that's a good rundown.
Right. Okay. Well, without further ado, we're going to move over and introduce Andrew. We ran across Andrew several months back, and he joined us for a Southern Fried user group meeting. I think at that point I had confused him by last name with another developer who had released some things years ago. So I was excited. Hey, he was coming back to the community. No. This is brand new action, brand new blood, and still very excited about making changes and doing all kinds of things within DNN. We had a great time up at DNN Summit and enjoyed connecting with Andrew and his wife. And at this point, we are looking forward to having him come on for several different Southern Fried meetings ahead, especially to talk about some of the things that we kicked around and that Andrew was coming up with ideas for, React related for, for the path ahead. Actually, I said React, didn't I?
Yeah,
I meant
Razor.
Razor. Razor for the path ahead. But in place of that, today we're going to have Andrew spend some time going through a kind of a demo that he's put together here for MVC Module Routing. And if you're ready, Andrew, we'll go ahead and switch over screens and pass it your way. We'll get started.
Yeah, we'll pass the ball over. Oh, I got options here.
Screen or desktop, either one.
We'll do desktop. It should do it.
Insert traveling music.
Do you guys see my PowerPoint, or do you see my desktop?
We've got your blue desktop.
Okay, I did the wrong thing.
You took the blue pill.
I honestly don't remember. Blue pill is good, red pill is good.
I can't remember. I think blue was maybe good, red was
Can you
bad.
make me presenter again? I think I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
I'm going to be Struggle City today.
No worries.
Shot.
Let's try that, and that, and that. We're going to start with that one. I'll see what this does. All right, can you see my PowerPoint?
It's coming up. Yep. There we go.
We've got it.
You guys still there?
Yeah. Yes, we see your PowerPoint. Did we lose Andrew?
Bueller.
Every other meeting goes smoothly on audio. Every other meeting, some catastrophe. It's just part of what we get used to.
Well, I can hear you guys if it makes any difference. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I don't hear Andrew.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
It'd be funny if Andrew thinks he's connected and he's just talking and talking and going on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Mike's like, hey, man, I got my audio going already now.
He's like, yeah, you want to call in? Yeah.
He texted, Andrew just texted and said his computer didn't like the screen share. He's having to work it out again.
Okay. You might know any good jokes.
Okay.
What did the razor say to the fish?
Razor fish joke? What did the razor say to the fish?
He said, I'm taking the screen.
Oh, you didn't have a joke?
The razor doesn't know the fish, so I don't know. Yeah.
All right. When does a normal joke become a dad joke?
Oh.
When the pun becomes apparent.
Nice. Hey, Ryan, I want to hear the, did you take your kid to the company post game?
I'm sorry, say again, did I, what?
Your tent, you were going to take it up to the company. Did you do that yet?
I haven't traveled to take it up to them yet. They did offer to send me a shipping label, and they haven't done that yet either. But it was this past weekend that I needed to use it the final time. So here ahead from now, I'm ready to take it up to them.
Now you're going to physically drive it up there because you don't want it to get lost in the mail.
It's 40 minutes from Mom's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Do you get to tour the facility? Factory?
I'm open to, yeah. I'm absolutely open to it.
Don't be a hater, Dustin.
I'm not hating. I'm just asking a question.
Oh, shoot. Dustin had that tent for a while.
Andrew, we are seeing your PowerPoint. Not sure if we can hear you yet.
Tell you what, too, Andrew, we'll give you another minute or two, and if it's still rough on your side or if you need to restart, we might switch over to Mike. We'll
if Dustin had been on that 3-day bender that he was on at that concert, he would know the story about that tent.
Oh, yeah, no, he knows that story.
Oh, we talked about it at the meeting?
Yeah, he didn't question the 3-day bender. That definitely was a big concert.
Andrew, are you connected via audio at this point?
Let me talk to him in text.
Maybe he can click and some of y'all can just talk through it.
We give you a good
that sounds. I think it'd be easier.
Pretty sure he's defining what an MVP is here. So.
Should we let Mike go until Andrew gets his ducks in a row, or what?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds to reach Andrew, and then we'll do that.
I mean, well, he should at least be able to see our texts, right? You think he's got the chat window closed?
He says he's dialing in. Give him just a second.
It's a long dial from New York. Almost as long as Nova Scotia.
Presenting if he left.
Well, so you can connect video, and you can connect.
Yep.
He's connected on video, but he is not connected on video. So he is now calling in.
What I want to know is how there was a DNN guy in Nova Scotia and Gifford Watkins didn't know about it.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
It's a big place. We hear you well, yeah.
All right, I got you on my phone. It's on speakerphone right now, so I'm sorry if it echoes. When I started presenting, my free conference center just crashed.
Sure. No, we hear you pretty well. There's a little bit of maybe fuzz around it, but we hear you about as loud as you were earlier.
All right, cool. Can you guys see my Visual Studio when I pull that up?
Yes.
We can. A little small, but
all right,
yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, let me start my presentation. All right, just to circle back to one thing Ryan was mentioning, I was originally supposed to talk about Razor Pages and DNN, but decided to switch it last minute to talk about MVC routing because, you know, 9.2 is a new thing, and there's some new features in 9.2 that help with MVC platform routing that I thought would be a little bit cooler to walk through because you can use it today and not a year from now or whenever we get Razor Pages done. So this is going to be primarily a code demo, and I am looking for a lot of audience interaction and questions to try different things because the core concepts are pretty small but powerful. So without further ado, let's do a code demo.
All right, let's do it.
We got a very short slide deck here. All right, so right now I have a DNN website running here. This is just, can you guys see my web browser?
Yes.
All right, cool. I think I got the whole screen share thing down.
All right.
All right, so I'm just going to wait for the, okay, cool. So this is just a 9.2 instance of DNN. I can see that's version 9.2. So I created this MVC routing module that we got on the screen here, and right now it's just displaying some text. So typically when I've done any type of routing in DNN, we would handle it with our GET and POST call. So if we open up Visual Studio, sorry, let's open up code. You guys see my code editor?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to copy over from a form that I built earlier. And we're going to get rid of that boring text at the top. And this is just a simple form that asks for a name, comments. I'll zoom in because someone was asking me to zoom in earlier.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, so this is just a real simple form, you know, that we'll do something with in a minute. But let me just save that and reload the page. Oh, the comments don't look right. What did I do wrong in there? Oh well, we'll deal with it. But the thing that I noticed with any MVC module is everything's wrapped up in a form. When I click this submit button, it's going to trigger this HTTP post action that I have here. But originally, the only really control that I had, if we look at the DNN controller to do any type of redirect logic, is redirect to the, oh, sorry, small, thank you. Thank you, Clint. So if we go back to the other screen and zoom in there. So whenever we do any type of post on a MVC module, you know, the only type of control that we've had previously is this redirect to default route, which all it does is it brings us back to the index. And there was other ways you could handle routing that I found previously where I would be able to handle routing from, let's say, the view. But that kind of defeats the purpose of MVC because the routing should be handled in the controller, not the view. So if we run the code that we have right now, and I hit the submit button, it's just going to redirect back to this default view here. It's not going to do anything. And when we write any type of complex MVC module, we want to be able to handle our routing across, you know, different controllers, for example. And I want to be able to manage that routing in my controller. So let's add in some different code here. So I'm going to add in, I'm just reading my notes down there. Instead of doing redirect to the default controller, I can use this new object, not a new object, but a new method on the DNN URL helper. So if we look at the context of that, inside our DNN controller, every controller has a DNN URL helper. And the new thing here is all of these actions. The DNN URL helper is pretty much a carbon copy of the MVC URL helper, but we didn't have the control to specify a action name and a controller name to handle any of our routing. So now, if we go back to our controller here, I can do URL, which gives me access to my DNN URL helper, and specify an action that I want to navigate to. So let's say I want to navigate to a new page. And so now we've built our action, but I need to specify how I want this to work. So I can just specify the redirect function that's included in our controller. And what's going to happen here is this section of code that I have highlighted is going to build me a module instance safe route to my next controller. So let's see what this does. So I'm going to rebuild. All right, and I've got to update MAS real quick in the background. Make sure that takes my changes. All right, cool. So let me refresh our page here. All right, cool. So now when I hit the submit button, oh no, bro.
Love a live demo.
Always breaking demo. But
hey,
let's take a closer look. Let's take a closer look at what's going on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me do the job of Pete here in this meeting, in which Pete would ask a question that is a good logical question, but it has nothing to do with what you're talking about at the moment. Sometimes, so that's not a dig.
Okay.
Just some things happen. Object reference not set to an instance of an object is the most asinine possible error message that you could possibly get in the entire .NET framework. What? That's there. I actually don't have anything to say other than that. I can't stand object reference not set to an instance of an object. It tells us absolutely nothing worthwhile whatsoever.
Yeah, that's I think everyone's pet peeve of, what do you mean my object null? But so regardless of this error, we'll take a look at what's going on with that in just a second. But let's take a closer look. Can you guys see the URL up here?
Yes, we can.
So let's take a close look at that. So our page name is the MVC-routing.
Right.
So when I said it generates a module safe route, the next parameter here is our module ID.
Right.
So now we're in the scope of our module, and then we're in the scope of our, then we scope out our controller and our action. And the reason why all this is important is looking back at our code here, using this syntax that I have highlighted, using this syntax right here, I'm able to generate a new route based on my module scope and have it be module safe in the terms of what if we have two modules on the same page that are the same module. So you have two MVC modules. So now we're able to handle routing independently on the same page, which you know, that part of it was already there, but the part that's new is now in my controller, I can wire things up very cleanly. And I need to catch up on the chat here. Hold on, let me pull that back up.
We'll keep track of it too. If we have questions that are pertinent, we'll bring them up to you.
All right, right on. Cool. So let's go see what's going on with this page 2 action. So let me go back to Visual Studio. Probably something silly. So that's calling page 2 view. What does that mean? Oh, well, that's a problem. We have no page 2. That would be a problem, wouldn't it?
It would.
So let's fix that.
That's interesting, Andrew. You're using Visual Studio for your controllers and stuff like that, but yet you're using code to edit your front end.
Yeah, honestly, I threw this presentation together last minute. I apologize for that, and I didn't have the development environment set up the way I wanted to, so I'm just using code to reference the views directly inside of the DNN instance.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see how other people are working. You know, the other things that we've been noticing are that you use keyboard shortcuts and use those heavily to jump around versus using your mouse to click around, and that's another, I don't know, habit of highly effective people, is the way I would say.
Learn the shortcut.
Absolutely. So it's just enjoyable to watch you working, too.
No, not to tell you guys too much, but I try never to remove my hand from the keyboard when I'm working, if I have a choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I forgot that I deleted page 2 before the demo. So you know, the important thing to note here is we now have handled some pretty cool routing constraints here, or pretty cool routing. Let's expand this a little bit. So we're in page 2, right? Let's get rid of this. I don't want to post page 2 yet. So let's say we create a new action result in here, and we'll call this the Southern Fry page. Now let's call it Southern Fry. As this is the Southern Fry DNN group. And let's return that to a different view, and we'll call it So Fry. That might not work, so we're going to hold off on that just yet. So let's say that looking back at our other controller. So right now we're specifying index. So I can now specify Southern Fried here, and now I can control exactly what action it's going to go to depending on some business rules that I define. And this is not complicated code that we have here, but now we have a lot of power to go between whatever we want inside of our MVC module that we're building. So all of this is really powerful and really simple. So one thing that Ryan, you were mentioning that you don't like that no reference exception error page. So what if we were able to build a new error handler? So let's consider this. So let's say we're just going to throw just a new generic exception. All right, so let's rebuild that. Right now, as we just saw a second ago, and we'll see again in just a minute, when DNN throws an exception, it typically throws a pretty hideous page, right?
Right.
When it actually throws the exception.
I was like, I'm not. There we go.
There we go. I'm on the item control. All right. So let's say we were able to add in a different attribute. Instead of using the DNN error handler, because I don't like that, I like using my own error handler. Let's say we created a redirect on error filter. And so in MVC, we have something called filters. You can look it up. It's really powerful stuff that you can decorate action methods, you can decorate controllers, and they run some logic. So we actually don't need the word attribute here. So what we can do now is we can create an action filter that implements the IException filter, and whenever an exception is thrown, this code runs. So that's really cool, but how does that help us in the problem we're trying to solve with redirecting? So what I've done is, what I typically do when I try to handle this use is, so we'll hard code some things for the simplicity of this demo. So let's say we have a new method in here, and we'll call it general error. And when we get a general error, I want it to, using that same logic we did earlier, we'll just do url.action. And let's say we go back to that's going to create an infinite loop, so we're going to change this. So we'll go back to our index. Yeah. And we will.
You could go to some special error page, for example, or a support form, questions. Sure.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I typically the caveat to this is you kind of have to, with the way things are currently set up, you kind of have to create some type of general error. What I've done is I put that in a base controller. And then you can just check in the filter if our controller implements this interface, then we can call it general error. But for our cases here, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that part because that's a lot of code scaffolding. So let's move this over to our page 2 because I keep getting confused on my pages here. not going to do split screen. Not enough real estate today. So what we're going to do is whenever we go to page 2, that's when we're going to throw our exception. And then what we're going to do is when we throw that exception, we're going to redirect back to the main page there. So we're going to put that general error code. We'll just stick that right here, and that will return a redirect back to that main controller. So all that's there. We just need to go to index, and we just make sure everything's wired up correctly. So that will do that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is instead of casting it to a DNN controller, I'm going to cast it to a page 2 controller. And at that point, I will be able to set my filter context result. So I can do controller dot general error, and that's going to return our action result to the filter context result, which handles the redirect. And most of this code here is, you know, vanilla MVC, how you would do stuff. The only real gotcha here is we're calling this general error method that we created on our controller because we don't have access in the scope, which is something that we can talk about in maybe another session.
Yeah.
Because I really want to stress, this is all we're doing, and this is all we need to do to do our navigation now. So let's just double check and make sure we got all the bits completed before we go back to the web browser. So the plan here is we're going to go to this controller. We're going to post. It's going to try going to page 2. When we get over to page 2, we're going to throw an exception. Our action filter is going to pick up that exception. It's going to cast our controller to a page 2 controller, which gives us access to the general error method. It's going to return our result, and then it's going to send back here. So let's set some breakpoints in here.
Oh, okay.
Why not, right?
So we can see it happen, right?
Yeah, I like seeing stuff happen on program. That's what I like. All right, so let's rebuild that. That's built. Let IIS clean everything up. While we're waiting for that to run, do we got any questions in the chat?
Not just yet. I'll run this, and then I'll bring up Clint's question to pose it about the URL handler and DNN's URL handler.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. All right, so we're ready to roll here. All right, so let's go back to our MVC routing page.
Yep.
All right. So let me go back here, and we will attach our debugger with more hotkeys. All right, cool. So we'll set another breakpoint because we can never have enough breakpoints. All right, so our debugger is attached. So that just ran that page. That's good. So let's hit the submit button. So we are in our post call. It's going to redirect to page 2, which we should have a breakpoint for. All right. And now it's going to throw that exception, which picks us up right here in the action filter. I was really nervous that part was not going to work. We'll go through all this again in a second, just a little bit slower. So now my controller, as we can see right there, if you can read that small print, is a page 2 controller. So now I can step in here. We can generate our redirect. Passes the result. We set our filter context that we handled our exception.
Yep.
And look at this. Look where we are.
Your display.
And now we're back here. So let's, like we were saying earlier, let's say we want to add a timeout exception into our app. Let's say it requires a user to be entering data and they come back to a computer an hour later. Instead of displaying a nasty red exception saying object reference is null, we can display a really pretty error message that says, hey, your session timed out, or hey, there was an error. Click here to restart.
Right.
And that's really powerful, and that will allow us to be able to write modules that are safe, and we can now handle the routing concerns that come along with that.
So maybe it's not exactly the right time for it, but let me phrase the question that Clint posed in the chat message, since we are talking about URLs. And originally DNN 3 and that time period, it didn't have a built-in URL handler, so everything we were doing were query strings off of the default. That query string structure formatted over time and got prettier. Ifinity URL Rewriter came in-house, and we then had much more robust control over different ways that pages and true pages were going to be displayed. Also, more control in the way that URL query strings were going to be able to be processed and visualized. And then modules could also pick up on it as well. So here, with this more involved control of what you can do with MVC and routing through the DNN, I guess, URL here, what kind of conflicts, what kind of collisions can happen between this, where you're working inside of a module and passing back and forth actions within this module and the URL, versus overall DNN's URL handler? I know that we're at the end of a module ID, so it shouldn't really have any conflicts, but I'm not experienced there. What kind of conflicts or collisions could happen?
That's a really good question. I haven't really spent a whole lot of time researching that.
It's kind of like you're bouncing around inside the module, so maybe it wouldn't affect the DNN at large or have a conflict, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So then if there aren't any other paths below that it would conflict with, how about any other SEO implications? Here you're doing it out of actions happening in a post, but if there was, I don't know, menu navigation or different states of screens based on activities occurring, any impacting SEO pros or cons to the way that it's approached?
Yeah, so if you need to handle some type of page state, that really goes on you as a developer when you're writing the controller. So what I've found in my experience with the MVC platform is, we all know we're not perfect feature parity with Microsoft ASP.NET, and one of the things that I found that's kind of a big gotcha based on the structure of a DNN page being wrapped inside of an entire form.
Right.
We really only have one post method that we can use.
Right.
So when I develop an MVC module, I can have multiple different GET requests. So, we were starting to talk about that over here. We can absolutely have multiple different GET requests, but we're limited to having just one post there. So the thing was, I guess to better answer your question, at that point, you're going to really need to handle, like, as a developer, you will need to handle some type of state, whether it's inside of a session or something, if you need that type of power inside your module.
It kind of does, and we had a kind of an open discussion around would it cause problems, and it fairly well sounds like it won't interfere or cause a conflict, and you could go crazy with your URL structure.
Right. And Lord MVC is much better than your spot, as far as SEO.
Right, because you can deep link and you can get into those URLs instead of just SPA, which is just states that Google's certainly not going to see past the first step. Right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Sort of, more or less.
Yeah, in general, yes, that's true.
Well, so Andrew, let's see here. We've kind of gone through a basic intro, a little bit of an introduction here to the routing that we now have access to. You mentioned that this is now available to us in 9.2. Anything there specific to talk about how this was before and now it is available to us?
I'm sorry, you broke up there at the end. What was that last thing?
So basically, this wasn't present before or available before 9.2 DNN, and it's available now because we have that connection to the DNN URL for MVC routing.
Yeah. So we look back again here at the code. So if we click and look at our DNN controller, we've always had a DNN URL helper, and I'm actually going to pull up the MVC URL helper. So this is the MVC URL helper. Let's go back and take a look at our URL helper.
Right.
Just kind of looking at them side by side is always useful.
They look the same, yeah.
So that's the DNN URL helper. This is ours, and this is the Microsoft one. So there's some more stuff in it. But
sure.
The important thing is not all of these action methods were implemented. So I want to say around Thanksgiving in the fall last year, I ended up submitting a couple pull requests on this to get this functionality in there and to help with just the stuff that we've gone over today. And
right.
Now with the 2 release, it's out there in the wild, and one of the things that really hit me when I was at DNN Summit was I was talking to people about this, DNN MVPs and DNN developers, and they said, what are you talking about? We do everything with Respond now. I didn't know you could do routing with MVC. And now you can. I mean, it's a brand new feature only compatible with 9.2, but it gives us more feature parity with Microsoft's MVC platform. It gives us a lot more control as module developers. And, one of the downsides that would be bad if I didn't mention, because you want to know the downside. Your URL up here can get very verbose.
Of course.
Very quickly. So you can handle query parameters or passing in. Let's say you are building an e-commerce site with this, like I did last year, and you needed to return a certain category of products, and that category might have a GUID in your database. Well, that GUID might be in the middle here. I'm not going to write out the whole GUID, but you might end up doing something like, whatever your GUID actually looks like. I know it's not a proper GUID, but you might end up with something like that inside of your URL. So that is something to be aware of, that your URLs start getting very, very verbose very quickly. I personally don't see that as a big problem, but I have talked with, I've worked with some companies and some clients where they do find that as a big problem. They want a very short URL.
Yes,
so there's something to be aware of.
Well, so to kind of wrap up, we've spent here about 25 minutes or so running through a good demo, getting an introduction here to this MVC routing that we now have available to us in 9.2. But we haven't had many questions from those online, so I want to take a moment to put the questions that way. Stephen, Rutt, any of the other guys that are online, do you have any questions that you want to pass back to Andrew here while he has code open and can tweak things to show us new examples?
We could run through this again, because I know I went through it kind of fast.
It's not that I don't want to run through it again, but I want to make sure that we're cognizant of time, since we got a little bit of a slow start. That I want to move to Mike here within the half hour or so. So before we did anything else, I wanted to make sure we've covered questions and questions coming in from the group.
No questions just yet.
No questions just yet.
Yeah, does anybody understand .NET well enough to know what was different about this from other kinds of .NET? I don't.
Well, I mean, you know, most people in the DNN space, they like when you hear DNN MVC modules, it's not what, like if you went and talked to an MVC developer, it's just not like he was talking about. There wasn't that feature parity for that piece of it.
Yeah.
You know, so this is something normal to the regular MVC world as opposed to DNN.
It just wasn't present.
They don't
for
even
a while.
know that it was possible, you know, to do, most likely. I mean, you know, unless they've had experience doing pure MVC solutions.
That said, it's now available in 9.2, so it'd be quite a while before it becomes standard that you could rely on across the board. But I think to Andrew's point, it's something that wasn't present before. It was something that was requested, and a pull request was put in, and it was integrated, and within, what does that make it then, Andrew? Within 4 months, it was released in the next, the next major release. So at that point, it's a good success story of some feature that's present in .NET that other developers are used to using when they're doing MVC development. Even if it's limited and it's not as, it doesn't have as many methods or actions as the full one in .NET, it's more than was there before. And it's a good success story of a need being there, putting those pull requests out, having it go through process, and within 4 months, it's there in the next major release. I think that's a win. Whether you can use this or not, it is a perfect example of the state that the DNN community is in now, of being able to get changes made that we've always wanted to have made to the core of DNN.
That's right. Mike Smeltzer mentioned that, great job, he says, by the way. He had tried MVC modules when they first came out in DNN 8, and it was the routing that wasn't working as he expected. So
that's what kept him out of it?
This is awesome, yeah. And that was a common complaint
at the time
from people that were trying out MVC, and expecting there to be more ability there for routing and so forth. Now, I think the people that really did stick with it and dig in, they found ways around this. And it kind of became the preferred model, over SPA even. So, but I think a lot of people that didn't have that knowledge, they kind of gravitated towards SPA as a result of this. I know we did for that same reason.
So, Dave, that's a good point there, and I just wanted to, I mentioned at the beginning of my talk here that when I tried handling the routing scenario in the MVC platform before this change, we didn't have it, we weren't able to have it as clean as you see on the screen here, but there were ways to specify the routing in the context of your view. So what I was starting to do was I was writing C# code inside my view to build requests, and then when I posted that to something like here, part of my model would be the new route, and then I would fire off the redirect. So I was tightly coupling my view and controller logic, and they don't belong together. I shouldn't be writing routing code inside my view. So, and that was the workaround. So now I can really separate those two pieces of the puzzle.
Good point. Understood. Okay, so Andrew, what do you think? Some finishing thoughts, some things about what you could show us next time if we come through and do another round of maybe MVC code demos in the future? Yeah,
I could start talking about maybe putting some of the stuff that we've talked about into a more robust sample app that we can go through.
If we're specifically talk about routing and redirect, maybe I could outline for you some ideas of a redirect handler and redirect logger that used to be around in older DNN that we'd love to see come back to newer DNN. Maybe we build something as part of a demo.
Yeah, we should be able to accomplish it with this. And I do want to come back and talk about razor pages and get a little bit more more movement on that, of course.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew, for running through this. We will come back around if anyone thinks of questions that you want to bring back in at this, at the end of the meeting. We'll bring those back in. But what I'd like to do is, David, if you can move control over, we're going to bring on Mike to share his screen and start to show us a little bit of DNN Shine here for the second half of our meeting. Just sharing some of the notes of people in the chat windows. If you're watching this video of our meeting here after the fact, you catch the video, you catch the meeting, but I don't think you catch the chat window.
Right.
So you're just sharing some of the things that folks are mentioning. David in chat shared that MVC routing and the missing nature of it was one of the reasons why back in the day he went down the path of doing FAW module dev instead. Stephen Fouts mentioned that this is very interesting stuff. He's still on 7.3.4 as a DNN version, and he's trying to get to 8, and eventually he'll get to 9. So this is definitely something not soon to be ready for him to be able to take advantage of. And that's certainly understandable. You get up to a stable version of 7, stable top version of 8. 9 is a big change. Training for administrators, to say the least. So it might take a little while to get some folks up to 9. So at this point, we're sharing screen, and we're going to pass the mic over to Mike Smeltzer. He reached out to SoFry a few months back, said that he was interested in presenting if we could find some time, and I spent about 3 minutes reading up about DNN Shine and got extremely excited. So at that point I was very eager to have Mike come on and show us information. I also teased in the beginning that he had information posted online and maybe a scant screenshot or two, but no demo. So the demo was coming soon. I don't know if that's been released to the public yet, but we're very excited to learn more about it and see a bit of a demo here tonight.
Thanks, Frank. You guys hear me now just fine?
Yes, we hear you perfectly.
Awesome. First off, y'all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everyone coming on here to attend tonight. Shine is one we're going to talk about. It's a product I'm working on, and it's a control panel for DNN that's focusing on improving the experience for everyone. Just a quick little agenda. I'm just going to do a quick introduction of myself, describe what Shine is and what its goals are, do it through a demo, and tell you about the next steps, where I'm going with this, and an opportunity for questions. Absolutely, if something, if there's a question that is important that comes up during it, just spit out and ask. That's fine. If not, we can just.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, I'm Mike Smeltzer. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm a lifelong developer. In the DNN Nuke world, though, have about 8 years of professional experience, mainly in module development, provider development, integration work, and just general admin experience. Most of my work has been with enterprise environments and large corporations. From an IT interest standpoint, outside of just general development and building cool stuff, really enjoy process, structure, simplification, automation, performance, and security. I find that a lot of people, at least in my experience, don't like the words governance and things like that, and I love talking about governance, processes, structure, keeping things simple. So at the end of the day, you can have the coolest stuff ever, but if you don't have good processes in place, it can all come crumbling down pretty quickly. So a lot of my time working with clients is on implementing good business processes, workflows, that type of thing.
All right.
Shine. So yeah, it's an extension for .NET Nuke that after you install it, it'll replace the core control panel as your default control panel. So in 7 and 8, the existing control panel there would be replaced with this, and in DNN 9, the persona bar would be as well. I focus on highly used areas in the CMS. Oh, sorry, do you have a question there, Ryan?
No, you know what? I decided to hold it because that one statement alone was a pretty big head scratcher, so I'll come back to it. Go on, please.
I think that I'll naturally explain what you're about to ask, I think, in just a minute. So I focus on commonly used areas within the CMS, so mainly the page management screen, file management, and just general edit mode. At least working with people, my clients and people that I know, you know, the admin settings and that type of thing, while they absolutely have to be accessible in there, you're not in there all the time, changing things like regular expressions for your URLs and that type of thing. But you are on pages all the time. You're creating them, you're uploading files quite often, depending on the site you're on, and you're going in and out of edit mode. So I try to focus just on those core areas in this control panel. It integrates with your existing admin and host extensions. So in 7 and 8, all the admin menus, the page structure, the host page structure, it all just works. Persona bar, so since they came out with the Persona bar extensions, I have, it's not in this demo, but I'm actually integrating those Persona bar extensions into my control panel. So any work that's going on there should continue to run just as you'd expect in this experience as well.
Okay.
Other places I'm going with this, you know, besides those general areas I just mentioned, throughout the use of this tool, you know, I want to enhance your experience by bringing more information to you and give you more contextually aware information. So if you're on a certain area of the screen or the, you know, a certain area of the system, I want to bring you more information about that area without you having to look for it. And just more of a heads up, you know, this is still in development, so expect bugs that maybe some of this demo definitely features and you know, probably a couple of weeks, months, years of expecting that change and it's all.
Mike, the audio got weird there for a little bit. You hear us okay well now? No, nice. You can't leave us now, Mike. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
There we go, perfect. Yeah, sorry for logistical issues tonight. I'm not sure what's going on there. But the goals of Shine, you know, why am I making a new control panel? A few years ago, I actually started this project back in 2016. So it was just around the time the DNN 8 was coming out. My experience, you know, working with clients was the same type of things over and over again. They found it hard to use, clunky experience, that type of thing. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try something different here. And put a good couple months into it. Then I kind of got into a lull and didn't do much for about 6-7 months. Persona bar came out, and then I said, oh, geez, okay, why am I doing this? And I kind of waited a little bit to see where that was going. And then I decided, you know, what I have here is a little bit different, so I'm going to continue with it. In the last few months, I picked it back up. And so, you know,
if I can get in my own personal dig on the Persona bar at the same time, you were motivated by the control panel state in 7, and then when 8 was released, that you decided you would work on and build your own better one. And while that took off and got some major, you know, progress, you kind of fell into a lull. And then when you saw the Persona bar, you exploded into new action, renewed in your endeavor because you could see that you could do anything and make something better, right?
I actually know. Well, you know, Persona bar has been out for what, a year and a half now in DNN in the platform release. Right. And, you know, it's cool. I like the direction it was going, but there's things that it doesn't have that people that I'm working with want to have. You know, it's not mobile, it's not responsive, that type of thing. So, yeah, I just decided, you know what, there's not a whole lot of people in this space. It's okay to differentiate every now and then. So I thought I would bring something else that, you know, differentiated from the Persona bar, from 7 and 8 control panel, but was also familiar. And didn't replace it, and didn't replace all the work that's gone into admin modules, that type of thing, but, you know, work with them and augment them, just do it a little different way.
All right.
So I'm also trying to bring some tools and processes to all users of DNN with this control panel that, you know, some features may be able to reach to some people due to cost restraints or, you know, implementation complexity. So some of the types of ideas and thoughts I'm putting into this control panel, not a whole lot of really small businesses may be using or used to using. I am from working with corporate clients, so I'm trying to bring some of that type of functionality into the control panel. And another goal of this is to provide continuous improvement to DNN users. Well, I haven't completely solved this yet. I'm definitely going on the right path here, I believe. But, you know, I don't want to have you, if I put a release out every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I don't want you to have to go through an upgrade process. And this was running on a dozen sites, 1,000 sites. You know, that's a lot of work. So what I'm trying to do here is bring some functionality that will auto update aspect. It may not be having to update your core module or control panel, but it actually reaches out and pulls bits of data down from the internet through what I'm calling a hybrid cloud type model, where you're hosting the control panel, but some of the logic, some of the data, some of the instructions are actually served up from my cloud server and dynamically pulled down into your control panel. So that you can provide more features more frequently without really any work from yourselves. And then another goal here is to just work with the DNN community. The last few months, I've been using DNN since 2011, just kind of in the background, and I saw the resurgence coming here, so I thought this might be an opportunity for me to show what I'm doing too, and make some new connections, and you know, branch out from there.
Oh, you'll get feedback for sure. This is the right place.
All right. So, yeah, now let's just going to give you a demo, high-level walkthrough of the main features. Can everybody see the web browser now?
Yeah, we see your PowerPoint slide manager screen.
No, we do.
It's my phone.
It's going to select a different screen.
Now we got it. Red phones.
There, is that better?
Yes. Well, hold on. 2 seconds.
Please.
Gray screen, hold on. I mean, we see your mouse, so we see something being maximized.
Oh, I see what the problem is. I think both of you are using Macs. David and...
Come on, D.
Well, you know, I see a lot of Apple symbols and little round buttons on the left side of the screen instead of square ones on the right side of the screen. So.
We see a gray gradient background.
It's not on the screen.
Strange.
So what there it is not what you intended, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just going to select everything here, and you should be able to see it. There you go.
Oh, there we
go.
Now
we're on the site.
Yeah.
See, it wasn't matched.
That was proven by what just happened.
Hey, yeah, so this is just your generic .NET Nuke basic installation. This is version 8.04 for reference. So I'm just going to log in here. To answer your earlier question, Ryan, yes, this demo is publicly available now. There's a link at the end of this presentation where you can come here and log in yourselves and play around with it and see what you think. So we just logged in. I'm in edit mode right now. Right away, the position of the control panel at the top of the screen is very similar to 7 and 8. The controls, though, are restructured. Very different. So we start right here. We have a dashboard option. We have access to your favorite pages, your files and folder manager, page and redirect manager. We have the ability to toggle edit mode on and off. And we have your page settings. I'm just going to get out of edit mode for a moment. So it's very similar to what you're used to here. So I go in edit mode. I know I'm there, lit up. It'll stay that way. Unlike the platform version, we just give you 2 modes, and it's either edit mode's on or it's off. Through my experiences, at least, the majority of people I know and work with, they stay in edit mode all the time. So I chose to keep it simple. Another big big difference you'll notice right away from 7 to 9 is that I have these plus icons all over the screen. What you're seeing here is that every single content pane, I've injected a button, basically, so that you can add a module by just clicking where you want it to go to. So we've opted not to use drag and drop functionality for a number of reasons. First and foremost, on my mobile device, on my touch screen, I want to be able to reach out and just touch where I want it to be. And, we're really kind of combining the layout mode and edit mode together. So now there's no guessing where you can put modules if you're not used to see things highlight.
That's a very clear reason for having this in place, and it's a thing that trips up many new people when you're training them on that management.
So we'll just select a spot here, and the screen slides up from the left, and this is all the modules that you have installed, very similar to what you're used to. I bring in a little bit more information in some cases. If you're not used to or sure what something is here, you can expand it. It will pull in the module description from the manifest file.
Nice.
Let's go HTML module here.
Nice.
Now, it's not showing up. I mentioned this actually happened today. There's a caching thing going on my Azure site. I'm not sure what's going on, but as soon as I click the cache, it comes back. So it's I think it's environmental. You would have seen your HTML module there, and I'll clear the cache in a few minutes, and you'll see it pop up. From the left here, we'll go to the dashboard. The dashboard's configurable, so there's an option if you want. You can open the default when you log in. That's what I personally recommend. So here's your dashboard. You have a spot for notifications. This does not tie in with the same notifications. This is only notifications that are derived from Shine. And notice you'll see text notifications in here that have to do things like, hey, we've updated Shine, your latest version, like your release notes.
Sure.
Or maybe even a notification to something like, hey, you haven't logged in a while. Here's a summary of some recent activity from other content editors on your website. So bringing you information to tell you more about your site so you don't have to go digging for it.
And as an element within Shine, it's something that you've used for some certain purposes, but maybe it's extensible so that you could add into it for your own purposes or things within your site?
Yeah, at the moment it's absolutely not, but there's definitely portions of this that I want to make extendable, and that would be one of them.
Very neat.
The other option here is something we're calling Insights. Insights, it's an automated service that's running inside your website. So your data, everything is here in your site, and it scans your site, your pages, your configuration, your database, to provide you with information about what's going on. In my findings, doing audits of your site is quite tedious, expensive, and people don't want to do it. So what I'm trying to do here is put a lot of the best practices that I've learned over the years into a tool that's going to get a check for me automatically. And that way I can provide your clients, anyone who's using this, with information continuously without them having to go out and hire someone else to do it. So for a sample of some types of information, there are seven issues misconceptions. SSL is not enabled on this website. Someone uploaded some files with some really poor file names. I've seen this time and time again, where we have file names of spaces, special characters, that type of thing being uploaded. Not good stuff. Oh, do you guys still hear me?
Yeah. We can. We just realized our mic was causing some problems with your audio, so we're muting ourselves when we're off on this side.
My video screen just froze at the same time, so I wasn't sure what's going on there. That's okay.
Looks like
broken HTML, accessibility things like, hey, you're missing alt tags on your images, or titles on your buttons, that type of thing. If you want to see more information about these, you can just click the view icon. Now, what you're seeing right now, the detailed screen hasn't been completely built out yet. So in demo, when you go try later, hopefully, you click that, you're just going to get the coming soon notice. But this demo site is going to be updated regularly now that I have it live. So as I start building out more and more functionality, it'll be coming up here. Insight functionality should be available in the next 2 weeks, I believe. The other part of Insights is that we'll give you a little bit of a report. So this way you can track trends. So am I doing better? Am I improving my website, or are things getting worse? Just a high-level kind of executive snapshot about how many issues or what we perceive to be issues are going on in your site.
Just out of curiosity, how or when is Shine then processing that about the content of the site? Is it doing it on a scheduled process and it's happening once a day or nightly to review content? And
yeah, so
is it straight database driven, or is there a crawler involved? That's a really interesting but very deep portion of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a scheduled. It's a scheduled task using DNN's native scheduler. Right now, I have it running very frequently, every couple of minutes. But it's not crawling your whole site all the time. So it's using a mixture of the API in some cases, looking at the database directly in some cases, accessing your configuration files in some cases. But it's not doing all of it over and over and over again. So by using the API, we can check to see if modules have changed, check to see if pages have been updated, that type of thing. So I've had this running every 30 seconds on my local machine here. Just fine, didn't seem to have any performance degradation because it's not checking everything every single time. It's checking bits and pieces of it. What's changed?
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
The other part before I get to the customize option, we have a tools menu up here. This actually this replaces the tools menu in DNN 7 and 8 and the administrator and host options. So you can still get to the admin pages just by clicking in here. And once again, we're giving you a little bit more information. So if you have a page description, we're going to show it. If not, then we won't. In some cases, the default page descriptions aren't terribly descriptive, but in some cases they're quite good. And we do the same thing for the host. So that's how we're still working with DNN 7 and 8. All of your admin and host pages and that type of functionality is where you expect it to be. Then we also give you some options here for clearing your cache on a per site or application basis, depending upon your role.
But also a more granular clearing of the cache, because you're doing module cache versus sitemap cache as well. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to get as granular as possible with some of this. Another option would be Shine settings. So there's some user settings in there to customize your Shine experience. Quickly, the ability to log out. This screen will have more user type functionality, like changing your password and that type of thing. And then also a help section here. This obviously clearly isn't finished yet. But what this is doing actually, sort of like I mentioned earlier, where we're pulling data from the cloud. This is connecting to our cloud server and pulling in the help information on a scheduled basis as well. So as we update the help information, then these screens will start to light up a bit more. The other option here is customize. So one of the you mentioned extensibility earlier. This isn't fully built out yet, but I anticipate having this screen to be extensible. So right now I provide a few different widgets, I'm calling them, that you can add to your dashboard. These all focus around Google Analytics, but we'll select a few here. So I can add these widgets to the dashboard, quickly refreshes, and here it is. It categorizes them by type of widget. And now what I'm seeing is Google Analytics information about this site being dynamically real-time pulled into your dashboard. So if you are, if you have this all set up and you log into your website and you have the dashboard set to open by default, within seconds I can quickly get to and see how many people came to my site today. What were my top performing pages today? Or, where did they come from? In this case, probably, yeah, a mixture of my website directly and from my Azure portal. So I have 4 reports there now. This is going to be built out more. Some of this information you have to take with a grain of salt, obviously, and put into context. But you know, this is kind of the direction we're going. Direct integration with Google Analytics, making it simple for people. I'm guilty of this myself. You know, you've got many accounts around there. You don't want to log into everything. You forget passwords, and it's not always contextual. It's kind of off to the side. So, especially for new users, I'm trying to bring as much of this type of information, just general stuff about your website that may not even be DNN specific, but website specific, into the experience. The favorite screen, it's similar to some functionality that exists in the platform, where you can kind of bookmark your admin or host pages in the control panel. This allows you to do that as well, but it allows you to bookmark any page in your website. So if I have a blog administration page somewhere or a page I'm updating all the time, instead of navigating to it or using your web browser's bookmark capabilities, I can come in here and just add it quickly and remove it as well. You can see, you know, performance is something that we're really trying to strive for here. I want everything to be as fast as possible and as informative as possible. So every time something is loading, I want to flash up a mobile window and tell you that it's loading. In my findings, some of the pages, especially ones you don't go to very often, they can take a while to load on some websites, especially if you haven't been there in a while. You know, commonly I find that some of the host pages are. So, you know, I click that, I'm telling you it's loading, so you can't click around and you don't know you know what's going on. So every interaction, I'm trying to give you more and more feedback in that sense. The Files and Folders Manager, this is still under development. In its simplest form, it's just a view of your files and folders. I opted not to use a tree view or some other types of controls, but you know, trying to follow really simple practices here. Everything is responsive on the control panel, so I wanted to keep it on day one as simple as possible for touch, for mouse, small screens, big screens. There are definitely some bugs. I don't have all my responsive code tweaked out yet, but if I start to resize things here, you can see that things naturally are just flowing, and you can use this on any type of screen size. The couple things to note with files and folders. So one big one is notes. I find, especially on larger websites, you upload files, it could be PDFs, images, videos, and if they're there for a long time, sometimes you lose track of why you put things there. Or if you're working in a corporate environment, you know, maybe that works on a ticketing system. Maybe you want to put a ticket number around, you know, a certain file that you've uploaded. Or maybe, you know, you're doing some workarounds and you uploaded some CSS files or something, or some JavaScript files, and you want to put a note to remind you what it is, or remind your coworkers. So you can put a note in here, we'll say test, and we're going to go and upload a file. So nice and fast, we upload a file to the root. It's called version file. So one of the other things I'm pulling in here is I'm implementing the capabilities so that if someone overwrites an existing file, it doesn't actually completely overwrite it. It actually creates a second version of it. So let's go ahead and overwrite this file, and we'll just say second file. It knows that we're trying to overwrite something, so it's once again bringing you more contextually aware information. If you've never used these products before, I want you to know exactly what's going on. And we're telling you that it's going to overwrite it, but you can always roll back and that type of thing.
Right, and it's making it easier for introductory level users to understand that they're overwriting something, which isn't always clear.
Exactly. The thing with this control panel here is, you know, it may not be for everybody. It may not be for all the power users. But it's really good for, I find, simple. Keep it simple. People who are not used to complex screens or massive settings, or they don't know what's going on. You know, if we want to introduce new clients, new people to the platform, Communication, information, and just simplicity is something that I think is very valuable. So we have the version file.
Yeah, to ask a question, sorry to interrupt. Those information notes that you're saving with files when you're uploading them, what database table is that going into? A new table of yours? Did you add something to the files table?
Yeah, so everything that you're seeing today, there's no custom tables. There's no changing core functionality. Everything is using built-in DNN platform capabilities. In this case, I'm saving that those notes as a content item, metadata for a content item. So we've added the file as a content item, and then we've added metadata on it as well.
Well done. Very, very well done.
Thank you. So if we go into the properties of this file, there's the note. Obviously, I've got some UI work to do here, but this gives you an example of where that's going. The one thing, since you mentioned it, I wanted to build something that if you want to use it, you can go ahead and install it. But you know what? You don't want to use it in a couple months. You can uninstall it, and your site still works exactly the way it did, minus my additional functionality that I've exposed before you installed it. Other types of solutions, whether it's a module or something else, if you start using it, and then you don't want to use it anymore, you have to migrate out of it. That's with any website of any size, a tedious and expensive task to do. So this here, you can use it, and if you want file versioning, you have it. When you uninstall it, your files are all still there, but you don't have file versioning because the platform version doesn't have it in its digital asset manager. So Insights, same thing. Insights, they're passive at the moment. So we're not enforcing anything, but we're just giving you information. If you don't want that information anymore, uninstall the control panel or switch back to the other one. You have that flexibility with what I'm doing here. What other screens? You have this very, very simple. You can create a folder, and it integrates with the folder providers, telling you it's been created, taking you right back. Some of the navigation principles I'm going with are a little bit different than some might be used to. But if we drill into something like the images, we can see all the images here. The title bar becomes a breadcrumb. So you can either use the back arrow to go back a folder, or you can use your breadcrumbs to jump folders. The page and redirect manager is a very similar layout. Still, once again, this is still in development. Things are going to be tweaked around a little bit. There's some things here missing that I want to add. But very similar. It just gives you a listing of all the root pages at the top level. Has some icons here, so if it's the home page, these icons represent that it's a page, and the redirects have a redirect logo. Up here, you can add new page or new redirect. I'm limiting what you can, or what you have to do to the barrier of entry to creating a page. So all you need is the page name and the theme. Everything else can come later. But the basic things to create a page: the name of it, where it's going to be. So it's going to always be created wherever you are inside of the hierarchy inside the page redirect manager by default. So you can navigate. If I want a child page under search results, I can navigate here and then make a child page. So clearly, if you're doing bulk page uploads and things like that, this may not be the experience for you. But for someone who just wants the basic stuff in front of them, this is for that type of user. This screen's not as built out yet. The top section here will have more information about the current page that you're on. So we have more information about search results. The page description will come through here. Perhaps even some analytics information we'll tap into and put it there, and other bits of metadata. From here, you can delete pages, view the page, or go into the page properties. One thing that I didn't mention, my screen may have froze here. What's going on? We just found a bug all log. That's awesome. So another thing that's a little different from the platform version is I have a recycle bin inside of your page and redirect manager. So I'm trying to bring some bits of the functionality into a more contextually aware setting. So if I have pages and redirects that are deleted, I don't go to the site's recycle bin and find it. I go to the page manager, and then I can find all the pages in here. So the recycle bin is empty at the moment, but if I had to have deleted something, you know, I'm deleting the Southern Fried DNN page. Once again, I'm telling users that I'm not completely deleting it. I'm putting it in the recycle bin. You can get it back later if you want to continue. We'll say yes. Okay, I've moved it. It's gone. Another feature that's going to be popping up here soon is going to be basically a number, a notification number right next to the garbage bin. That's going to tell you how many pages are in there, so you don't have to dig in to find it. But there it is. And from here, we can either permanently delete it, or we can go ahead and put it back and restore it. Once again, telling you right away, in layman's terms, exactly what's happened. And there it is again. The last section I'll show tonight is going to be the page settings screen. So we'll go back to the home page. So this brings up the page settings, essentially. Similar to the dashboard, we're giving you a high-level screen here with analytics. The analytics I don't have fully tuned in to the page settings screen yet, but eventually, you know, you'll expand this and you'll see exactly the same information you saw on the dashboard, except for this page in particular, not the whole website. And the other thing we've added here is internal notes. So similar to files, sometimes you just want to write down some information about what you did to a page, or maybe you want to write some information down to explain to a client how they have to edit a specific portion of the page. I've seen everything from people creating module titles and putting notes in those and hiding the container, to putting hidden modules on pages to let other users know when they're logged in, you know, what they've done here, which all works, adds bloat to the page, mind you. But, you know, I've decided to kind of put that functionality here right in context of the page settings. So we can click this and see what someone left, or we can come back in here and there we go. We can leave a note for the next person that came here. Once again, you know, telling you exactly what's happened. I'm trying to be a little positive and motivational here, but you know, documenting is awesome. I mentioned earlier I love process, I love structure. You know, this type of tool, I'm trying to put some of the things that I like on a daily basis into the hands of everybody. And it refreshes quickly, and there it is. This will load the latest note at the top, and then a list of them below. Other than that, the only major differences here from the platform version will be similar to the page manager. We're bringing the module recycle bin to a page level. So if you're on a page and you want to know, hey, what did someone delete off this page? Go to the page settings, open the recycle bin, and it gives you a list of all the modules that were deleted and the ability to restore it. Eventually, yes, you'll have the ability to empty the whole recycle bin and that type of thing as well.
Your unlock, yeah, hit that one and unpublish too in just a second. I'm really curious about those.
Sure, yes. The unlock is just your page permission screen. It looks very similar to what you're used to. It's not completed yet, but very, very, very similar to what you're used to. And you can select your roles, that type of thing. The unpublish, essentially all unpublish does is it removes the permissions from the page. So we can do that really quickly. All permissions have been removed.
Does it also hide it from the menu?
No, it does not hide it from the menu. I don't believe it does. I'll have to double check that. So there's actually, in the platform API, there's a publish tab function. I'm not sure if it does the menu. That's a good thing I will check, though. But as you can see here, we've removed it from all users. And if you go back, you can add it right back on. And tell you that's, you know, page not visible to all users. And the settings screen, pared down settings from the general settings screen of DNN 7, 8, and 9. Just the page name, title, meta description, keywords, include a navigation menu, disallow from search engines and page theme. There's absolutely some settings that are missing here, but they're going to start to light up here over the next little while.
But to your point, it's the main ones that you want people to know how to use in average everyday management. And if you need more, you go to the default screen,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, so this option right here gives you the capability to get to the default settings screen if you want to. But, you know, if I build a website for somebody and set it up, I don't want you going in there and changing the cache settings necessarily, right? I don't want you changing, you know, SSL settings. Sometimes you just want to build a site for someone and ship it and have it just continue to work. This interface, I believe, is going to help me do.
You maybe add in there start and stop, or start and end date, and what else? Maybe parent level control, and there you go. You're set. Those are the basics.
So yeah, that's a pretty good overview of what we have here. As you can see, once again, the control panel is responsive. Just starts moving over. It's not finished yet, so if you go too far, it's going to break and not nicely tuck away into a menu. But it's on the path of going down that route.
Okay, so we've got a small buildup of questions that I'm going to run through, and meanwhile, everybody else who's online with us, put in additional questions or be prepared, and then you can speak up in just a moment.
Yeah,
but,
actually, just stand by just one second if you don't mind. I'm just going to talk about some steps, then we'll jump right into the questions.
You got it.
So there's an online demo. If you go to a website I've set up here, once again, just like this software, this website's under development. This is very much a startup product that's on the way of building. So you can go to that website. There's a launch demo button, and it gives you a username and password. You can log in and enjoy. Obviously, please be mindful. It's a public website, so only post nice things up there. But it will refresh itself on a regular basis, a couple times a day. So it will start clearing its data out.
Perfect.
My next steps is get people to try that demo out and give me some feedback. I'm all about feedback, good or bad, as long as it's constructive. I'll accept it graciously. I want to know what you think of this, and I'm not only building this for myself and my clients, but if I ran into issues, and from people I've talked to, it sounds like a lot of people ran into the same issues. So if we can talk about that, and if I can incorporate some of that feedback, that's fantastic. I'm going to put a public roadmap up on my website in the next few weeks. I want to be as transparent with where I'm going with this as possible, because I want people to use this. So I'm going to put some features out there, get feedback on it, and let you know exactly what's going on. And the next step is to have a release downloadable preview. I'm going to DNN Connect next month, so I've given myself kind of an internal deadline that by that event I want to have a downloadable preview version of it on the website.
Are you presenting at DNN Connect? Are you scheduled to present and release this, or do they know this awesomeness is coming their way?
I put a session request in. I'm not sure if it's been approved yet or not. I think they announced maybe there's another week before they would finalize sessions. So there's a good chance I potentially could be. Maybe I won't be, but I'll be there regardless.
Fantastic. We'll talk to some people for you.
Awesome. And yeah, if you have any questions, now's the time.
Okay, so let me run through several to begin with. You had 8+ years of DNN experience here. In the past, you would have gone through several different versions of DNN past control panels. Are there any things that you can think of that you remember from DNN 5 or DNN 6 where those control panels had features that you liked and wanted to bring into this?
Yeah, actually, so the first version I got on, I think, was a later version of 5, and it was only for a few weeks. We migrated to, I think, 6.0 or 6.1.
Yep.
So most of my experience then early on would have been in 6. I forget the name of it. It's not the ribbon control bar, I don't think, but there was another control bar in there. So I think the majority of stuff that I've seen, though, is that kind of 6, 7, 8 style control panel. What was the exact question? Sorry, Ryan?
Just looking for some of your inspiration, and I'm going to still segue onto some other parts of that, but talking about past DNN control panels, I'll go ahead and throw in the favorites that Dustin and I have that has never been in another control panel since, and it's was terribly important to us. And in DNN 6, you were able to add a module onto a page and give it a title before you install it on the page.
Because if you don't get to do that, nobody ever remembers to go back and do that. They've got
No
a module
one.
on the page, now they're going to go into settings.
So
They're not
then,
even going to go into the settings unless they
bingo.
have to make it permissions specific, you know?
So then you want to add a module to another page, and they're all called HTML module.
Right,
You
trying to get
love
that
it.
out of the room, out of the
It's
recycle
awful.
bin.
He's talking.
Sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, that's okay. I've run into that too. And then, you go to something like Recycle Bin, and you just see a whole list of HTML modules, and they don't say what they are. It's frustrating. That's actually not something I thought of until you just mentioned it.
So if I have a feature request, that's one of the things that I'd love to see come in. Okay.
That's a really good one. So I'll make sure to sync that one in for you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Results. Okay, so then still talking about other control panels, did you try out other other control panels that existed out there? Oliver Hine made a name for himself, at least in my book, with his 2 different versions of control panels that he's produced over time. And like you, for inspiration or motivation for it, it came out of needing to have different things happen for customers and present a more efficient way to go about things. Just out of curiosity, have you tried other control panels when you got started with all this?
I mentioned that a couple years ago that I had a bit of a lull. And, I was doing a lot of good progress, and then I believe there was a DNN Connect, and Oliver released one of his control panels, his latest one. And I said, darn, someone's beat me to it. It looked good. It was a good start. But one thing that I noticed is, he was trying to recreate the complete admin experience in DNN. I don't want to put a lot of effort, quite frankly, into building a new user's screen or a new role management screen or a new event viewer or a new SQL console. I want to put my effort into the places where I am the most, my clients are the most, and I feel that most people, or most content editors, are the most. And it's not there. So that's where I think mine kind of differentiates from that one. His previous one, I forget the name of it, but it had to do something with more granular permissions. That functionality is really cool. That's something I don't have in this necessarily.
And that makes sense. You're talking about an experience change with management versus simply trying to reproduce all the different functions that we had at one point in time or another. So it's coming from a different purpose, a different utility being expressed, and I completely understand that. So then, how about your direction? To clarify what you said earlier, you've built this and it's working right now in 7 and 8, and it will work in Persona Bar, but that's really, maybe to put words in your mouth, it's really because you've already built it for these different elements to work as they've been built as separate items in Persona Bar, and for display, all you're having to do is display them in Persona Bar structure versus versus DNN 7 and 8 control panel structure, right?
I don't think so. No. So right now, you could install this, and this will run as is without a hitch in DNN 9. The APIs that are using, they're still there. They still work just fine. What I'm looking at doing with DNN 9, though, where I have a tools menu where you can then go in and access, admin, and host page listings, essentially, I'm looking to have another option on the main control panel that's basically going to be a menu that when you hover over it or click it, you're then going to get a list of all of the Persona Bar modules that have been installed, or Persona Bar extensions, I should say, and then I'm actually going to render those extensions inside of my control panel experience. Not
in a similar way where you could turn them on and off like you had for your Google Analytics type things?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't going to turn them off necessarily because that's not what the original Persona Bar does. I know there's permissions settings that you can change on some of the Persona Bar things, I believe. I don't think there's a UI exposed, so maybe there's something additional there I could do. But the intent right now, or at least the proof of concept that I have, is just to, from the API, grab those person-persona bar modules, list them out, and when you click on them, render them inside of my tool. Absolutely, if there's some additional functionality that's desired around those, I can look to implement something there as well.
Now, this may be a more technical question than the rest of the viewers are interested in, but to clarify, part of something that we had in chat when you mentioned it, Andrew brought up the question and he said, wait, did he say that we can switch between control panels? And I chimed in to answer on chat that, yes, if you're installing something like this into DNN 7 or in DNN 8, in the host settings, you have an ability to swap between the different installed control panels. So it's something that is present today in DNN without any problem. So you just switch between these control panels, and technically you can go back all the way to very old control panels. They might get a little bit kludgy or funny, but for the most part they work. So if you installed Shine, so if you installed Shine, you could try it out and then switch back to another one back and forth. I mentioned that it's not user-based. It's whole DNN instance. So you're either turning on one or turning on the other. It's not as though it's user-connected. But this control or this feature doesn't exist in DNN 9, to my understanding. Is it that it's still there in the database, and if you did install it, you'd basically be having an ability to swap the control panels if you're installed in DNN 9?
100%. Yeah, it still exists. I have I believe it's still here, a link right through here. So I didn't mention this screen. This is kind of the About screen. Down the bottom here, it's not turned on, but I thought of that as well. So you can click in here, and it will automatically select the other one for you because there's no UI at the moment.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, bear with me. I've got one more question, and then I'll pass it back to you and then pass it back to the floor. But there was some, discussion about your idea. Your roadmap is ahead, but what type of structure are you imagining for releasing this? Of course, people said, ask the question: are you releasing this to the community? Is this part of something that's going out? Is this a paid model? What kind of structure are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for both, to be honest. So one thing that I want is I want as many people to use this as possible. I personally think it's pretty cool, and it's starting to solve some problems for me. So I want, or there's going to be a free community version available that has the vast majority of what you're seeing today will be there. Some things from a paid perspective, which I'm looking at doing, which I haven't finalized any details yet, but I'll tell you where my head's at. Things like the insights. I'm planning on having a significant amount of essentially rules that's being pulled down to scan your website. For the free version, that functionality is still going to exist, but I may give you only a subset of those rules and roll up into maybe a higher category. Something like maybe I'll say something like, you've got 10 security issues, but I may not get right down the granularity of showing you how to fix every single one of them. So from a free user perspective, you can load this in, enjoy all the base functionality, everything from the file versioning to leaving notes to the responsive design, connecting to Google Analytics. But if I have 24 reports in here for Google Analytics as a community free account, you may only get access to a small subset of those, but you're still going to get access to some of the features. That's one thing I want to be very careful on here is I don't want to alienate anyone. I want you to use the free one here and give you a little sense of some of the extra stuff that's around that is passive information that's you can enable it at low cost, and it's not going to cause your website to go down a different path or what have you. You can turn everything on and off as you want.
Let me encourage you with the idea of having a mixture too of pay for features or pay for priority on features. You're looking for feedback on requests and features, but if you want to use this with your client and you desperately need 3 features and they match up with your roadmap, maybe it's pay for priority and it comes out 2 weeks later because you paid for development time.
Yeah, that's a good point. So something I've thought about, especially on my website with the roadmap. I was thinking about like a feature sponsorship type of option, which is kind of I think the exact same thing you're mentioning there. So there's a couple different models there that I'm playing with. I've not hardened up anything yet. What I do anticipate, though, when I get a releasable version by next month, is that I'm going to have something out for probably realistically 6 months at the end of the day before I start looking at monetizing anything. I want to make sure I'm going down the right path before I put all of my effort into the wrong direction.
Fantastic. That's a kind of a string of some of the questions that I wanted to ask, both of my own and coming out of the chat. I'm going to pass it to the group now. Andrew, you said you had some questions that you wanted to run through. Are you able to speak? Do we hear you on mic again now?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Okay.
All right. Cool. So one of my questions was, is this built similar to how the current control bars work? Like, and let me ask a question that I'm really concerned about. How does your control bar affect the styles and JavaScript files that I have included? Will there be conflicts?
Zero conflicts. So something that happened. Sorry, my screen froze there, so I had to rejoin the meeting here on my desktop. So if you're seeing my screen right now, feel free to go ahead and just close it out there. It's probably frozen. Yeah, DNN 7 and 8, you had a lot of conflicts between skins. If you did not override things properly in the right orders, you could either make the control panel look funny or vice versa. So Persona Bar, good idea, loads up in an iframe. I'm doing the exact same thing with this. I'm loading the control panel into a sandboxed iframe. So I'm going a little bit further where I'm completely locking down any type of functionality. So someone's trying to if someone takes control of the control panel and messes with it somehow during the pipeline, the web browser should stop any JavaScript from being able to access the parent page. The little bits of stuff that I am doing, I'm posting messages basically back and forth.
All right, cool. Then I think you answered this, and I think I know the answer is no to this, but is it possible to set up I build a DNN website for, using Shine, and I want my client to have this interface, but when I log in, I want the DNN persona bar because that's a power user. Is that possible, or do I have to go through and swap the control bars out?
Yeah, currently you have to swap the control panels out. I think, though, power user or not, once I'm pulling the persona bar extensions into this toolbar, you're going to be able to access the exact same stuff, the exact same functionality, the exact same admin and host settings that you could with persona bar extensions. So I think that will probably help to mitigate any functionality differences there. But I have thought about the ability to temporarily have a setting within the control panel to render the persona bar and completely replace this one for your session in particular. And then when you come back or log out, come back, you would load up the other one. However, I kind of put that on hold because I'm thinking, if I'm integrating those extensions anyways, then what are you going to go to the persona bar and utilize if I'm already putting the extensions in?
Right. Yeah, I get that. Why would be the point if you've also integrated the things that you're missing? Andrew, just to share our perspective there, we use a few different control panels for some older legacy sites and some newer sites that have different control panels. And when we get down to serious development work, sometimes we need the normal control panel back. So my developers are just used to logging in, and if they're making certain edits and changes, and the users, the client owners are working on their website, they work in those altered control panels. But then if we need to do something power level or something we feel is missing, you just go to host settings, you change it back for your working time, and then you change it back when you leave. So it's not that terribly painful to have to do when you need to swap one to the other.
Right. Okay. And then Mike, my last question for you is, how do you install this? And are you going to be releasing a a DNN Shine branded installer to make it easier to install?
Yeah, you install this exactly the same as you install a module or a skin or any type of extension in DNN. You go to your host screen and install it. Part of the install, it'll actually swap the control panels for you. So as soon as it's finished installing, you come back, it's there. So there won't be any custom installers or anything like that. It just follows the built-in installer methodology. Install it, and it should be good to go.
Cool.
Mike, as you start to release new features and build up even more excitement around this, when you come back to show it to us again in the future, and we spend some more time, I would love to see, if you're able to, without having problems showing client websites, I would love to see some of your clients' sites where they've really taken advantage of some of those features. I'm thinking of page notes and file notes and things, because that's a feature I feel that clients would use heavily, and I'd love to see some of your anecdotes and information of how well those things have been utilized, because they're very useful.
Yeah, I agree. They seem very useful. To be honest, I'm not running this in any production sites at the moment. I'm just not that far along yet. There's some gaps I need to fill in first before I want to release that to the wild. So I don't have any clients running on this at the moment, other than kind of loading it up as proof of concept and then taking it off type of thing. But absolutely, I'm looking at expanding this demo site a little bit more to be more of a case study type scenario where I can bring some of that type of information in and show it to people, and they can get a better idea of how they would use it.
Fantastic. How about anyone else in the session right now? I just asked Mark if he had any questions, if he wanted to chime in. David here, or Dustin, do you guys have any questions?
When will it be available?
He was saying that he wants a downloadable by the time he hits DNN Connect. So he's got a deadline ahead of him to run. I'll say that the only single thing that I saw in the presentation that I have questions about, I won't go as far as to say concerns, but questions, is that I understand the idea and the reason for having a centralized core for some of the logic and for some of the things that happen. But I know there are some instances of DNN where that would not be possible. For instance, an instance that might be intranet only and doesn't have external access. But also in other situations where, because of the type of entity, they cannot have that type of control external to them. So I'd want to know a little bit more about what parts or what things are controlled to that external pseudo cloud. Is it the insights? Is it the evaluation of those insights and maybe those things? If so, then you can imagine that you could live without that. That's not as essential. But if it's core functionality, I'd hate for it not to be available if I wanted to use it in a siloed intranet type situation.
Yeah, exactly. All my clients are the same thing. We don't have firewall rules opened up to anything in particular due to security concerns.
Right.
Things currently that I'm streaming down are the Google Analytic reports and the instruction set around insights and the help documentation. The rest of that
is very common. I have seen that in, I'm going to say, 6 to 8 very major, well-known DNN modules. So help information, new tips and updates on how to use the product, information on product releases or improvements, that is very common to stream down. So I would not consider that a concern. If you're in a siloed instance, then that doesn't load. Okay, as long as it doesn't break other functionality, that's perfectly understandable. I'm much less concerned if that's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is, and all that data is cached there locally and everything. So, if I did get into a scenario where there were clients that did not want to open up a port for this, then by installing the packages locally, you're getting the point in time updates of that documentation, of the insights. You're just not getting the automated updates.
Fantastic, Mark. So I'll pass it back to the group online. Again, everyone's saying, you know, good work, nicely done, well thought out. There's a lot of interest in folks who we've talked with before. You may not know all of the players here, but several of these folks are people who, like you, are concerned about having DNN more instantly usable, more palatable for editor-level users, non-power users. And this has several elements in it that are making, you know, us excited, and I'm seeing good comments about it. So, you know, very, very well done. Last pass. Any questions in the online chat that we haven't hit? Well, we're coming across you know, past 8:30 here, and it's time for us to start wrapping up. We've had two fantastic sessions. We had a development deep dive. We had code in action from Andrew Hoefling as we went through MVC routing and what you can do now in DNN 9.2. I'm sure that's going to evolve as people start to use it, you know, make more action and more use of it going forward. Along those lines, we'll look forward to having more information from Andrew on .NET paths forward, whether it's other MVC things that we can look forward to as small demos, or eventually getting into our Razor pages and talking about that as well. So thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us here. Let's give Andrew a round of applause. Thank you very, very much for a demo well done. And then our second speaker, Mike, for coming in and showing us his labor of love. You know, something he's been producing and working on behind the scenes for himself, for his own clients, and the things that he sees a need for. I'm excited about seeing this go out into the DNN community and seeing what can come out of it. So thank you very much, Mike, for presenting us DNN Shine. When you are ready, we'll begin flooding you with ideas and questions.
I do have I forgot to mention, I do have a sign-up form on the website there that if you sign up to, I'll be sending out notifications, just letting people know, you know, when the downloadable installer package is out and that type of thing.
Yep.
So feel free to sign up. They're not going to spam you regularly, but when there's updates.
Regularly. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everybody who participated online. For those of us, or for those of you who are also watching this afterwards from the video, do be aware that we meet monthly here. The third Thursday of every month, starting 6:30 p.m. Eastern, is the beginning of our DNN Southern Fried user group meetings. I'm going to hit the meetup just to pull up the information for the next meetup. David, do we have that one already posted? I can't recall.
No.
We do not yet.
Oh, yes, we do. I'm sorry. Site improve. Yes.
I'm just trying to see.
Scroll down just a little bit. There you go.
There we go. So for our May meeting, the third Thursday is going to be May the 17th. May is National ADA Awareness Month, and to help you know, tie in that information, we have someone from Site Improve coming to spend time with us. Dawn, who we met for the first time out at DNN Summit, is going to spend some time talking with us about not only how they can work with DNN sites to help you improve your DNN site for ADA review and ADA performance, but we'll also just talk about the topic in general. We'll talk about different tools that can be used, where you can get resources and training. So it's going to be a very good overall topic conversation for next month's meeting. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here at Southern Fried DNN. We will see you online, and talk to you soon.